When we think of the band Queen, we immediately think of musical genius, right? Those soaring vocals, the unforgettable anthems. But what if their legendary success wasn't just about the music? What if it was the result of a deliberate and absolutely brilliant architecture? Because this really isn't a story about a rock band, at least not in the way we usually tell it. No, this is the story of a complex, multidimensional architecture, one that was carefully assembled by four very unique minds. So the big question is, how on earth was it built? Okay, so let's start with the blueprint. Because the foundation of this band, it was completely different from pretty much any of their peers at the time. Think about it. Most rock bands in the 60s and 70s, they came up through a kind of blues rock tradition. They were musicians first. That was the whole deal. But Queen? They were a totally different animal. They were a convergence of academic minds, a group of university students from wildly different fields. And this is where it gets so interesting. Just look at the band's internal toolkit. Freddie Mercury wasn't just a singer, he was a graphic design student who actually created their iconic logo. You've got Brian May, who was literally pursuing a PhD in astrophysics, which totally informed his layered, almost orchestral guitar sounds. Then there's Roger Taylor studying biology, and John Deacon, an electronics engineer who built their custom amps, like the famous Dietzy amp, just to get the exact sounds they wanted. They were a completely self-contained creative and technical lab right from day one. But having a brilliant blueprint is one thing. It didn't take long for it to slam right into its first major challenge, a music industry system that was basically designed to exploit them. So picture this, it's 1974. On the surface, it looks like they've totally made it. Their third album, Sheer Heart Attack, it was a massive hit. They had a #1 single with Killer Queen, and they were headlining their first tour in the United States. They were, for all intents and purposes, global rock stars. But behind all that glamour, the reality was just bleak. I mean, each band member was earning just £60 a week. That's it. They were rock stars on stage, but in reality, they were nearly bankrupt. So what was going on? Well, it all came down to their very first contract with a company called Trident Studios. It gave them access to recording facilities, sure, but it stripped them of all financial control. This whole mess forced them into a bitter legal battle just to reclaim their own careers. And all the anger from that fight, it fueled the creative fire for their next album, the legendary A Night at the Opera. Okay, so they're finally free from that awful deal. What do? Play it safe? Nope. Instead, they took their biggest, most audacious gamble yet, a move that defied every single rule in the music industry playbook. I mean, the sheer engineering feat behind Bohemian Rhapsody was just staggering. We're talking about a 6-minute song with no chorus. They stacked up to 180 separate vocal overdubs, running the analog tape through the machine so many times that it literally started to wear thin. You could see through it. And because there was no way they could perform it live on TV shows like Top of the Pops, they had to create a promotional film out of pure necessity. And that promotional film, the one they made just to solve a logistical problem, it accidentally became the blueprint for the modern music video. They didn't just have a hit song on their hands. They had revolutionized how music would be marketed and consumed forever. But, even with global superstardom, their story was far from a straight line to the top. In the mid-'80s, a major political misstep threatened to tarnish their entire legacy. So what happened was, in 1984, Queen chose to perform at the Sun City Resort in South Africa, which was under the apartheid regime. This violated a huge United Nations cultural boycott, and the backlash was immediate and severe. They were blacklisted by the UN, fined by the British Musicians Union, and their reputation took a massive hit. But then, less than a year later, they were given a shot at redemption on the biggest stage you could possibly imagine, Live Aid. In front of a live audience of 72,000 people and a global television audience of 1.5 billion, they had just 21 minutes to win back the world. And their strategy? It was a masterclass. Instead of playing any new material, they just delivered a perfectly paced global jukebox of their biggest hits. It was a relentless, high-energy barrage designed for maximum impact, and it absolutely, completely stole the show. But the most powerful moment of that entire day was also the simplest. Just a call and response. In that one instant, Freddie Mercury wasn't just singing to his stadium, he was unifying a global audience in a single shared moment. And that legendary performance, right there, it cemented their legacy. A legacy built on their unique architectural understanding of how to engineer a collective experience. You can really see this architectural genius in their stadium anthems. We Will Rock You was explicitly written to turn the audience into the main instrument with a simple stomp stomp clap anyone could do. And We Are the Champions fused this huge theatrical grandeur with a raw, powerful chorus that became the undisputed anthem for victory. They weren't just writing songs, they were building frameworks for mass participation. Which leaves us with a final thought. From their academic origins to their battles with the industry and their mastery of the global stage, Queen was always so much more than a band. They were architects. And their whole story really makes you wonder, did they prove that the greatest instrument in music isn't a guitar, but a well-designed strategy?